the clairvoyance of being press is limited, and so we rely on press releases. And Press Rush is back! Hooray! It's been an interesting time. Using the good camera this time, so you can actually see my face in good quality video. But the news that we cover is largely the same. We don't want to spend all of our time going, this game comes out, every single time this thing comes out. We're actually going to talk about news. And the first bit of news we have is kind of small news, but it is, at least if you actually think about it, rather interesting. And that is the game developer Splash Damage has joined together with Wargaming. Splash Damage is known for Brink, Dirty Bomb, first-person shooters mainly, and Wargaming is Wargaming, World of Tanks, World of Warships, and all that sort of stuff. And so the first thing that is interesting that they say here in the release is that Splash Damage is now hiring. They're now hiring more staff in London, But if you think about it, there is another aspect that is rather interesting to this, and that is that Splash Damage is known for first-person shooters, and Wargaming is known for World of Warships, World of Tanks, and all the Wargaming things. So are Wargaming planning a first-person shooter? Or are they just going to borrow their multiplayer stuff? Because Splash Damage, that is a thing that is probably most likely that's going on, is that they're much more of a partnership for online tech, the multiplayer tech for it. Because Splash Damage, of course, has Dirty Bomb, Brink, a lot of the other multiplayer stuff. That's the thing that is most likely going for it, but it is an interesting thought that Wargaming may put out that may help develop a first-person shooter. That would be kind of interesting. Have Wargaming suddenly go into the World War II shooter market. That would be funny. And another small gaming news, probably most people have probably seen this by now, because it's actually pretty cool, is another trailer for Kindom Hearts III that involves Toy Story for once. One of the funniest things to see in this is to see the sort of Western cuddly toy action figure stuff mixed with the modern sort of proper movement almost. It's Sora looks like the Square Enix figures that Square Enix is starting to sell through their figurine business. It's kind of funny. And part of my mind immediately went through: is this going to be product placement? Are they going to sell this action figure at some point? Because this is Square Enix, and they will monetize the balls of everything that they can. But it's another trailer for Kindom Hearts 3. I'm a fan of the series, so eagerly awaiting. Otherwise, that's pretty much all you can do, really. Just wait. As I say here at the end of the release, it's going to come out for all platforms in 2018. So pretty much the only thing you can do is just wait at the moment. The next release is for a company called Dreamcade Replay. They're a company that makes various arcade cabinets, sort of modern ones that for quite a wide variety of games. Usually the old-fashioned, old arcade things. They seem to make very good things, but this isn't about their cabinets. This is about what they're calling the Flashback Retro Gaming Console. A retro plug-and-play console thing. Or at least it's for their Kickstarter of it. This is a Kickstarter campaign that they have set up to create this thing. Apparently the cash is going to go in for it is for the digital infrastructure of it, because there is going to be a component that is online to download and share and all sort of things like that. Kind of in the same, it sounds like it's in the same vein as the Spectrum ZX, the Spectrum DX, the Spectrum Retro console thing that came out a little while back, and the final part of testing a manufacturer. So the actual blueprint of the machine is done, and they have demoed it before live through Twitch and through online really, and it does seem very good. But I've always been quite skeptical of machines like this that try to be all-in-one machines, especially of, well, the picture that they have of consoles to have is quite wide, going all the way through from the old Atari consoles, the old Segas, but also the current Nintendo. It's also some of the older Nintendo ones, like they have the N64, as well as the NES, and even some of the Game Boy games. And seeing things like that, it kind of sparks a skeptical part of my mind. Because some companies, especially gaming companies like Nintendo are extremely controlling around licenses. That always ends up being the stumbling point for sort of the digital publishing of older games, is the usage rights. Especially for stuff that was on console. Stuff that's on PC is a lot more open form, but for consoles, it's the ROM files, the read-only files. It's a lot more legally complicated to get console games. Especially for this, it's essentially on PC is what this console is essentially doing. Basically, that skeptical part of my mind is going, this may not go as planned, because some companies may be little bastards around this and try and cause a kerfuffle. But that part of my brain is, well, the interesting part of the story is that it's by Dreamcade Replay, a company that already makes arcade cabinets for these older games. So while my mind is going, licenses are going to be a problem, the one thing that they wanted to make clear, especially for the online infrastructure, is that they're going to be using their online infrastructure for their emulators and things like that. So they may already have the licenses, because they may already sell some of these games. I think the library of games, especially for the slightly more contemporary consoles, the N64s and things like that, and there's going to be a set generation of consoles, basically I think from about the GameCube forwards, is basically just not going to be allowed, is pretty much my expectation, because it's too current, and every single company is still trying to sell the balls off some of these ones, especially ones like Sony, and Xbox is just not going to be considered whatsoever, I suppose. But if there is a company that is going to be able to pull off a all-in-one retro gaming thing, it is going to be a company that has this sort of background, that already makes things like arcade cabinets. It's the one company that I would have some faith in being able to pull this off. Construction itself is going to be a very, very tiny issue to the whole thing, because they already make stuff. They already make arcade cabinets, so the actual manufacture of these things is probably largely complete, or the infrastructure to build the things is largely complete. It's not a complete startup. Hence the reason why the only sort of buyer beware thing that's going through my mind at the moment is the licenses and the expansiveness of the library, because Sega, Nintendo, and various other companies that are still existing in the space may be a little wary, or maybe a little sods around it, and especially considering that some of the news that came out around E3 was that Atari is now making their own retro gaming console thing. Even Atari may be little sods around licensing. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. It could go very, very well, the tech that they're going to put out is going to be really very, very good, but I think the point where the goodness of the machine is going to come by is through the licenses and the expansiveness of the library, and that is something that's going to be up in the air, frankly, until machine is in hand of consumers, because 11th hour fuckery basically can happen pretty quickly. Licenses can change overnight. And then, as one last bit of businessy, industry-y type of news, there has been another survey has been announced and released, and it's by Digi-Capital, based out in Sacramento. Is it Sacramento? Or was that the one before? Well, it's California, not Sacramento, Menlo Park. And they put out finance surveys, money surveys of money coming in of the industry, and the worldwide industry, and things like that. What they have here is basically just slight bullet points and things like that, but via their blog, they have put out all of the information for people to read, and everything to read. I will put the link in the description for you to read it. Like a lot of these finance reports, like the ones put up by UKIE and all various companies like that, there's a lot of information here. But the one interesting thing that comes with this report is that it kind of confirms everything else, like the conclusions from the UK, like the UKIE reports that came out a couple of months ago. It kind of confirms the theories that came through than that. like there being this very much this two-tier development groupings when there seems to be this huge boom in one sector and this huge decline in another, and being one of the big futures of gaming and the largest industry within the video game market is mobile gaming. Mobile gaming is king by a huge margin, and this report basically says the exact same thing. And so this is part of the reason why I'm saying you should read it. People should read it. Industry people should read it. Public consumers should read it, because this is another report that falls in line, at least a lot of its conclusions and things fall in line with other reports and things. And so to kind of give a running commentary on the industry, this is probably one to look into, as it has the same conclusions as everyone, and yeah, it's something to read. And that is it for the news portion of this video, and we're now going to move on to the UK all formats charts, again graciously supplied by UKIE Limited. And the top 5 has created a interesting set. Final Fantasy has shot into the number 1 in the UK. Final Fantasy 12. Is it 12? XII? Yes, 12. Roman numerals are always a pain in the ass. Final Fantasy 12, The Zodiac Age, has shot to the number 1. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare has climbed up for some fucking reason to number 2 from number 8. And Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy has remained in the top 3. It's not necessarily surprising. It's depending on its expedience down is going to depend on how well the game was. And for my generalized thoughts on the game, it plays exactly the same as it did before. Slightly better in some respects, slightly worse in some respects. It's just a hasty remake. People saying, "Oh, it's so hard." It's like, yeah, it was kind of bullshitty back in PS1 days. I had the one on the PS1. It's kind of shitty at times, so I'm not entirely sure what they were complaining about. It's pretty much exactly what it was. And after that, it's the ones you would expect. Overwatch is wee around the thing. Grand Theft Auto 5 still remaining in the top 5. Minecraft, Wipeout managed to climb up. FIFA, Mario Kart, Battlefield. Yeah, it's the usual ones you would expect. So sort of up and down the charts as it usually goes. And to round off the episode at the beginning of the week, here are the games that are going to be released this week. We have Albion Online for Android and iOS and PC, Children of the Zodiacs for PC and PS4, Wonder Boy The Dragon's Trap for Linux and Mac, Aporia Beyond the Village for PC, BioBlocks 3D for Android and iOS, Gigantic for PC Online, Crypt Crawler for Android and PC both online, Real Politics for iOS, Slimesand Blackbird's Kraken for Linux, Mac and PC, Destiny 2, this is the beta, the actual game does not come out until September, this is the beta for PS4 and Xbox One, Mint for PC, and Planet and Crya Chronicles for PC. And that is it for the news. If you enjoyed this episode, please do consider subscribing and sharing the video around. We are going to have Press Rush is back every Tuesday and every Friday at 10 o'clock. Going to go through some of the gaming news. So please join us again next Friday for the next Press Rush.